Welcome back to Hold Fast, where we have biblical truths for daily battles. My name is Kenny. I'm the host of the podcast, and you may have seen recently a sermon clip of mine that I posted where I said that every believer needs to find three types of people in their life. You need to find a Paul, a Barnabas, and a Timothy. And several of you have reached out to me since I posted that and said it was encouraging to you in some way or impactful. I preached that specific sermon actually at South Shore Community Church in Sarasota, and then back here at my home church, MissionWay Church, as well. And the sermon itself just really seemed to resonate with several people. And so I thought that it would be helpful for me to maybe go into a little bit more detail about that, because, you know, the sermon clip was about a minute or so where I said that every believer needs to find these three people. And I kind of said that, and I made a few comments about it, but I want to go a little bit deeper into what actually does that mean, and how do I do that? Maybe that's the question that you are asking. Some of you have already asked me that question. You're like, oh, well, I want to find a Paul in my life. I want to find a Barnabas, but I don't exactly know how to do that. I don't even know what that looks like. And so I want to start off by talking about what each of these people represent in our lives and what we should be looking for in these kinds of people. And then I want to kind of end this episode talking about, okay, so again, how do I find these people in my life? So let's start off. Everybody needs to find a Paul in your life. Paul, the apostle, author of many of the books of the New Testament, is somebody who really discipled and poured into many different people over the course of his life. Maybe the most famous relationship that we know of is between Paul and Timothy. We'll talk about finding a Timothy a little bit later, but Paul poured into Timothy. He wrote 2 letters to Timothy. He made sure to train up Timothy for the ministry. And we all need somebody in our lives who is more mature in the faith than us. Now, sometimes that means they're going to literally be older than you, but not always. You might actually have somebody in your life who is even younger than you, but they have been a Christian for longer, or they just are more mature in their faith for whatever reason, and you really look up to them and respect them. These are the kind of people you want to find. You need to find somebody who desires to do this with you, obviously, right? And that's true for all of these relationships. You don't want to try to force this, but you want to find somebody who you have a relationship with to some degree, or somebody who you think you can begin to form this relationship with. Now, here's some of the things that we need to be intentional about with this, because what I'm not saying is that you need to just find a mentor. I'm not saying that you need to find a life coach or somebody who's just going to help you in all these practical areas of life. That's helpful and useful to have in your life too. But when I talk about finding a Paul, I'm talking about somebody who will study the scriptures with you, who will teach you some things from the scriptures, who will actually actively disciple you. That somebody that when you walk away from having conversations with them, you have been strengthened in your faith and in your knowledge of God. So when you seek out to have a Paul in your life, you need to find somebody who intentionally is discipling you, pouring into you spiritually, training you up in the faith. Now, that can include, and it should include, life situations. They should talk to you about your parenting and how you work at your job and how you deal with your anger and all these different things. They need to be talking about all of these life issues, but you're not just looking for a mentor and somebody who's going to help you be more successful in life. You are looking for somebody who's going to help disciple you and form you into a better, more faithful follower of Jesus. And you need to be clear about your intentions with somebody in this too. Like, make sure they know somewhere along the way that that's what you're hoping to get from them. Now, ideally, you're going to find somebody who can be a Paul in your life who's already doing that, right? But sometimes you might need to search a little bit. Sometimes you need to take some time to start building some relationships with people who may be candidates for this. And you don't walk up to them, as I said in my sermon, and go, I want you to be my Paul. Maybe you do that and you break the ice, but it's better that you just get to know them. And yes, you're partly doing it with the hopes that they can be this person in your life, but what do you have to lose with getting to know people and beginning to find out where they're at in their faith and see how they could be an encouragement and help to you in that? So find a believer who is more mature in the faith and somebody who you look up to and you respect, and seek to build that kind of relationship where it's very clear that I want you to pour into me. I want you to help me in my faith. And they also should be somebody, by the way, who has the courage and the boldness to speak into your life when things need to be said. So when maybe you are struggling with sin, or maybe you are about to make a wise or unwise choice, they can help offer biblical wisdom in that. So that means that it's really important that whoever your Paul is somebody who is committed to biblical principles, somebody who is committed to not just trying to find out what makes the most sense and what do I feel like doing, but somebody who is fiercely committed to doing what God wants them to do, and they're going to be committed in helping you do the same. So find a Paul in your life, somebody who can do that for you. I think this is crucial for every Christian because nobody has made it in their Christianity. Nobody has gotten to a point where you go, I don't really need somebody to pour into me and build me up. And let me maybe say this, if you're maybe a pastor or ministry leader of some sort listening to this, sometimes this can be hard for us to find because we spend so much of our day pouring into other people that we forget the importance of finding somebody who's going to be pouring into us. And so I have a few men in my life who are older, more seasoned pastors than I am that I reach out to for many different reasons. And they have taken this role of Paul in my life in many ways, and I'm so thankful for that. So you need to find a Paul. Next, you need to find a Barnabas. And this is... Barnabas is going to have some similarities to a Paul in your life because it's somebody who's going to help you grow in your faith, but it's somebody who, let me maybe use this illustration. If you're running in a race, unless you're in first place, there are going to be people in front of you, right, who are running the race faster than you, and there's going to be people who are behind you in the race. You want to find a Barnabas as somebody who's running right alongside of you. They're running at the same pace that you are. It doesn't necessarily mean that your Barnabas has to be in the exact same stage of life as you, but I think spiritually speaking, spiritual maturity wise, they need to be on a very similar level to you, because this is somebody who you're going to have as Proverbs says, an iron sharpens iron relationship with. So you may have a Paul in your life and you can be an encouragement to your Paul. But ultimately their main goal is to be an encouragement and to disciple you. But this Barnabas relationship is much more of a mutual upbuilding, a mutual encouragement, a mutual helping one another grow in the faith. So this is where it really matters that you are picking your friendships wisely, right? Because many of us have a lot of friends who may be all over the spectrum with their spiritual relationship with Christ. Maybe we have unsaved friends. We have friends who don't take their faith very seriously, or maybe some friends who take their faith a lot more seriously than us. It's very helpful to find somebody who you can be in the trenches with day to day, somebody who you can pray for one another, encourage one another, support one another, bear one another's burdens. This really, really matters. So having a Paul in your life, maybe somebody who you meet with, once a week or every so often, but having a Barnabas is somebody who really, for the most part, you try to do daily life with. You're constantly checking in with one another. You're constantly upbuilding one another. I think that's a very important relationship for every Christian to have. And then lastly, you want to find a Timothy. And this is somebody who you can be a Paul to. You can say, I don't think that I'm perfect. I don't believe that I'm just so much of a better Christian than you. I just think that I am further along in my faith, and the Lord has taught me things and grown me in areas of my life that I think I can be an encouragement to you. Now, again, much like the Paul situation, you don't walk up to somebody and go, I think you need to be my Timothy because you need somebody to pour into you. But you just find people around you who you know that you have something to offer to in this regard. Somebody who you really have some sort of a relational connection to, somebody who you go, man, I really would love to help them in their faith, and start meeting with them, start finding ways to encourage them. So you need to find a Paul, a Barnabas, and a Timothy in your life. I hope that's clear. So I want to kind of end this episode by talking about some ways that you can begin to find these people in your life. And I've sort of said a few of them, but let me try to get pretty practical here. I said in my sermon that I don't think you should try to find all of these people all at once. Now, maybe you have a Barnabas already and you're looking for a Paul and Timothy or whatever the situation may be. Don't try to find them all at once. Try to find just one at a time. And if I'm being honest, I personally think one of the most important of the three that you should find is a Paul. Yes, we all need a Barnabas and we should all be pouring into a Timothy in our lives, but I think all of us really could benefit from having a Paul in our lives who can pour into us and really encourage us in our faith. So start there. Start trying to find a Paul if you do not already have one, or maybe you have one or two of them. Find multiple. It's not a bad idea to have multiple Pauls and Barnabases and Timothys, by the way. And as I said, just begin to reach out to them and ask them to go to lunch or coffee or whatever, and begin to share your testimony with them. Begin to share your faith with them. Begin to share your struggles with them, the things that you are thriving in your faith, and things that you're maybe floundering a little bit in. And start to listen to how they talk to you. Do they offer biblical wisdom? Do they offer encouragement? Are they somebody who doesn't seem really interested in the things that's going on in your life? And begin to really get a feel for, is this person going to be able to step into this role? And as you build that relationship, and if you feel confident in thinking that, yeah, this person really could do this in my life, then just share it with them. Just say, look, you're somebody that I really look up to, really respect. I would love if we made this a regular thing to some degree. I would love if we met once a week, every other week, whatever works for our schedules. And whether we do it over phone call or whatever, however this works for us, I want this to be consistent. I want it to be intentional. And I really want you to be pouring into me in whatever ways you see fit. I think that's a great way to start that conversation. Something important with all of these relationships is that you need to make sure you put this on the calendar in a consistent way. Don't just say to each other, well, we'll connect whenever we have the time, because then you probably won't ever have the time. You need to set it on the calendar. You need to get a consistent schedule that you both agree upon, that you can move forward with together. And similar in finding a Barnabas, again, just find these friends around you who you feel like are kind of right there with you in your faith, and just say to them, hey, I would love for us not to just hang out. I love hanging out. I love doing fun things together, but I also want us at times to just share what's on our heart and what we need prayer for, and where we're struggling and how we can help one another do that. So again, ask them, would you be interested in regularly getting together in some way for us to have these spiritual conversations, these faith and life conversations with me? And then with a Timothy, just finding that person who you really believe you can connect with, who you really believe you have something to offer them. We need to make sure that we are going out and making disciples. One of the reasons why finding a Timothy is very important is because we have been commanded as believers to make disciples. And so you need to have at least one person in your life who you are pouring into intentionally, consistently. This is something that needs to happen in every believer's life in some way, shape, or form. I can't sit here and dictate for you exactly what it should look like, and the schedule that you need to take and what you need to study and all those things, but you need to be pouring into the faith of other believers. That is not just your pastor's job. That is not just the staff members at your church's job. That is your job as a Christian. Every Christian has a ministry to build up the body of Christ. So I hope this was helpful to go a little bit deeper into that. Maybe you've got a unique challenge or struggle or question regarding this, and you'd like to reach out to me, please do. Email me at kennyroberts@missionwaychurch.org. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to help you figure this out a little bit more. But like I said, this was something that several of you have shared with me was helpful for you to think about. And so I wanted to go a little bit deeper in my thoughts on this, and I hope it was helpful and encouraging to you. Thanks as always for listening to Hold Fast. If you love the show, give us a rating, a review, share it with somebody you know, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and Lord willing, I'll be back next week with another episode. God bless.